Beneath the sun-scorched hills of southern New Mexico opens a doorway into the earth, and beyond it a darkness that holds one of the grandest rooms on the planet. Down and down the path winds, until the desert light is only a memory and the air turns cool and still. Here, far below the desert, water and acid and deep time have carved a cathedral of stone. Welcome to Carlsbad Caverns National Park. We are in the Guadalupe Mountains of southeastern New Mexico, near the town of Carlsbad, close to the Texas line. On the surface, this is Chihuahuan desert country, dry hills studded with cactus and agave under an enormous sky. But the real wonder lies hidden beneath our feet, in more than 120 known caves dissolved out of the ancient rock. Our descent begins at the natural entrance, the great cave mouth that has drawn people into the ground for centuries. A paved trail switchbacks down into the opening, curling back and forth as it drops. Over about 1.25 miles, it carries us some 750 feet below the desert surface, trading the harsh sun for a hush and a coolness that never changes with the seasons. As we go deeper, the daylight thins to a pale glow behind us and then vanishes. The passage narrows and turns, and the only sound is the drip of water and our own footsteps. The cave holds a steady coolness year-round, a world untouched by the desert heat above. Ahead, the corridor widens, and the darkness begins to open into something vast. And then the ceiling soars away and the walls fall back, and we step into the big room. This single chamber is the largest cave room in North America, covering roughly 8.5 acres of floor, stretching some 4,000 feet from end to end. It is a space so wide you could set several football fields down inside it, all sheltered beneath a ceiling of solid rock. To walk here is to walk in a cathedral no hand ever built. The scale is almost beyond belief, the silence deep enough to feel. Far overhead, the ceiling arches into shadow, and every whisper seems to be swallowed by the dark. There is a reverence to the place, the sense of standing inside something ancient and immense and utterly still. The big room is not bare. It is a forest of stone grown drop by patient drop over thousands of years. Stalactites hang from the ceiling like icicles of rock. Stalagmites rise to meet them from the floor, and where the two join they become soaring columns. Sheets of stone called draperies fold like curtains, and thin hollow soda straws dangle so fragile a breath might seem to threaten them. Some formations are giants in their own right. The giant dome is a towering column more than 60 feet tall, one of the largest in the cave, built where a stalactite and stalagmite fused over unimaginable time. Nearby rises the Rock of Ages, a massive stalagmite that has become one of the cavern's most famous landmarks, a monument of dripstone standing in the dark. Not far along the trail, the floor simply falls away into a black void known as the Bottomless Pit. Early explorers dropped stones and never heard them land, and so the legend of a bottom that could not be found took hold. In truth, it is about 140 feet deep, its floor a soft cushion of dust that muffled every falling rock and swallowed every sound. Most caves are dissolved slowly by rainwater seeping down from above. Carlsbad was carved a stranger way. Deep below, hydrogen sulfide gas rose from oil and gas trapped in the rock and mixed with groundwater to form sulfuric acid. That acid ate away at the limestone from below, hollowing out these enormous rooms, and left behind traces of gypsum as the signature of its work. The stone itself is older still. Around 265 million years ago, in the Permian Age, a warm, shallow sea covered this land, and along its edge grew a vast living reef. That ancient reef, built by sponges and algae and countless tiny creatures, hardened into limestone and was later lifted skyward as the Guadalupe Mountains. Carlsbad Caverns is dissolved from the heart of that fossil reef. The cavern is more than stone. Through the warmer months, it is home to a great colony of Brazilian free-tailed bats, hundreds of thousands of them, roosting in a chamber near the natural entrance. They cling to the ceiling through the day, then pour out at dusk to hunt insects across the desert, one of the largest gatherings of wild creatures anywhere in the region. On a summer evening, the entrance becomes a stage. As the light fades, the bats spiral up out of the cave in a rising, whirling column, thousands upon thousands streaming into the dusk in a soft rush of wings. The flight can last for the better part of an hour, a living river pouring from the earth into the darkening sky. Then, before dawn, they return. People have known this place for a very long time. For thousands of years, the region was home to indigenous peoples, among them the ancestral Pueblones and later the Mescalero Apache, who camped in these hills, gathered its plants, and knew its waters. Near the mouth of the cave, paintings left on the rock still speak quietly of those who came here long before it was ever named. In the early 1900s, a young cowboy named Jim White saw a dark spiral rising from the desert at evening and rode toward it, discovering the great cloud of bats and the cave that sheltered them. Barely more than a teenager, he began exploring the passages by the light of a lantern, lowering himself into rooms no one had mapped, and spent much of his life sharing the wonder he had found. Before it was treasured for its beauty, the cave was mined for its droppings. Over countless centuries, the bats had left deep deposits of guano, prized as a rich natural fertilizer. In the early 20th century, miners hauled tons of it up from the depths and shipped it off to distant fields. It was that mining, and the men who worked it, that first drew wider attention to what lay below. Word of the cavern's grandeur spread, carried by photographs and by wide-eyed visitors, until the nation moved to protect it. In 1923, Carlsbad Cave was set aside as a national monument, and in 1930 it was elevated to a full national park. What had been a source of fertilizer and a cowboy's secret became a wonder held in trust, safeguarded for everyone who would ever make the descent. A doorway into the earth, a cathedral of stone grown drop by drop, an ancient reef, and a river of bats pouring into the dusk. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.